I should be live. I'm gonna raise these levels. Night. Alright, 7.1. Make this one 7.1. Alright, it should be good. Roughly. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if I'm even live, so. Let's see. Excellent condition. Cool. Entertainment. Lol. Because, I don't know. Whatever. My name's Lego Enforcer. I need to remember to be quiet because it's 9 p.m. where I am. I don't know how well this is coming through or not. I don't know, man. I just needed to talk. I need to vent, but like, who doesn't, right? We're Generation Z. We're millennial. I don't know what the fuck we are. Generation Alpha. I'm 23. Um, Morbidly obese. Come from a Christian background. Have a sensory processing disorder, bipolar mania, depressive bipolar mania. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. I'm insane. I'm crazy. Um, About the one thing that I'm absolutely sure about this life is that I'm absolutely sure that I have no fucking clue about any of it. Um, there's been a lot of anger, just loads of it for decades, for so many decades. There's probably reasons for it, but it's bullshit. Who doesn't have anger, right? Anyways, I smoke weed because of that. If you can't, understand that, I don't know. I don't know who you would. I don't know who you are, but like, yeah, this is what a high motherfucker sounds like. Maybe this is bad. Nope, it says stream health is pretty decent. It says no data, but I don't know. Then it says stream health is pretty decent, so. Please check the video resolution, the current resolution. Just no. Open widget. It's telling me to check the resolution. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it, but check the. Oh, okay. This is capturing the whole. Huh. Interesting. This is capturing the whole entirety of the photograph, rather than just the part that's in the image. Wait, no. Now it's just gathering the image. Fuck. I don't know. Anyways, I'm bad at this shit. This is not important. What's important is I don't know what's important, but I think the important part is that we talk about the fact that I don't think most of us know what's important, and that's frustrating to me, right? Because like I feel like I have the humility enough, and this may be arrogant. I don't know anymore. I'm fucking frustrated. Be humble, but then don't be humble, but don't be prideful. But then there's good kind of pride and bad kind of pride, and it's so fucking confusing. Anyways, it doesn't matter. And what am I getting at? The one thing that I'm sure of, because like I've spent 23 years, since 17 years old, give or take. I've spent basically I made it my full-time job to be on YouTube, to be online, to try and understand more about this world. Because I fucking don't understand at all, like, like any of it. Like, really. How can we educate you for 12 years and then call you uneducated when you come out of a 12-year enforced education system? Because it's not really education, it's indoctrination, obviously. But like, how is that, like, obviously? Like, how is it that society got to the point that like we as a society just went, yeah, yeah, the younger generation's kind of fucked. Sorry about your luck. Like, what the fuck does that say about society? I'm sorry, is that not a condemnation of this place? Like, let's think about this, right? Like from a logical perspective, as best we can. Oh fucking, please don't. Alright, good. I'm trying not to break this fate because I am just fucking so tired of this world. I just don't want to be here. Really, that's my main objective at this point, is just to not be here most of the time, if at all possible. Hopefully I'm still coming through decently well, levels of the volume. I don't know. I'll watch this back later. This is all live streamed, so I don't give a fuck about quality, obviously. If I cared, I would have put more effort into this, but, I mean, the level of care that I have is about adjacent to the level of reliability that I feel like I can give to society, and that level of reliability is actually next to nothing, because I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna wake up tomorrow like. If I'm gonna be fucking... Yeah, I don't even have reliability of my own fucking psyche, so there's not much of a... I don't know. I don't feel like I offer much to society, but that's beside the point. I don't know if anybody really offers much of anything important to society, because I think the only thing that really matters in society, when you actually think about how people feel about their time, people think their time is invaluable, right? That's what people think. Well, if your time is so invaluable, why the fuck do you spend it whoring it away trying to gain bullshit that doesn't really fucking matter? Like, that's, like, from coming from the Christian perspective, right? That's what's never made sense to me. We as Christians are supposed to model our lives after Christ. I do never once remember reading Christ about any sort, like, Christ's work was ministry. He was there to do his Father's work. He was there to walk with God, to seek and to save that which was lost, right? Us as Christians, the word Christian literally means Christ-like. So if we're, as Christians, trying to be like Christ, why do we spend any of our time doing things that aren't seeking and saving that which is lost? But then that comes to the whole argument of, how do you even seek and save that which is lost if you or yourself aren't even swimming, right? And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You have to have the base level of reliability for yourself and for society to interact with it, and to be able to, like, call yourself a viable member of the conversation, I guess. I don't know. I think that's the argument. But then the funny part about that is, once you become that viable member of society, the trick is that you then have to learn, or already have it instilled kind of in you, you have to not give a fuck about what other people think. Because if you give a fuck about what other people think, then you end up with this whole cycle of spending your life trying to do what you can because you think it's what will get other people to see you in a better position. And it's like, well, that's not really what life is about. Life is about meeting people that meet you, and iron rub against iron sharpeneth iron, right? But nobody really likes to be rubbed up against, so there has to be some level of forcing that iron to rub up against one another. And that's kind of a big problem with this whole internet thing, is like, holy shit, we're isolating each other such to the extent that nobody ever has to rub up against anybody, and you can literally live completely like a hikikomori life. Like, if you look into the Japanese culture, what those guys, like, it's a fucking nightmare, dude. It is not pretty. But you can do that in the society. That's the level of hedonism that we have come to as a society. The ability to lock yourself in a room and live to the point at which the only thing that makes... to the point at which... I won't go into it. It doesn't... to the point at which it doesn't matter, to the point at which... It's dark. It's fucking darkness. What else is new? The internet gets you darkness. Yeah, that's the fucking problem, I think, of this society. I think a lot of people are gonna they have a lot of anger because their mothers and their fathers gave them what I call Vonix. And these Vonix are fucking terrifying devices that you hand to children, and you motherfuckers, you are so, oh man, you were gonna pay. Oh man, you were gonna pay. And I'm not like, you are gonna know what you've done to your children in about 20 years' time. Because effectively what you're doing when you give these people vaults of near infinite knowledge, that's what the Vonic is. And a Vonic is basically any digital device that has access to the internet, whether or not you think you have parental controls on that device. You don't. Let me tell you about it. You don't. Because your child will go to that mom and pop shop down the road where people trade in used video games and buy and buy and sell and all this kind of stuff, and they'll get an SD card and they'll pop that sucker in, and guess what? Your little firewall, your little nice pretty little parental safety thing you got there don't do jack against hard media plugged right in. Oh man, the digital age, I tell you, man, we are fish in an air river, and the digital age is just toxic waste being dumped into that river. It is a crazy man on the side of the river throwing lit dynamite in, going fishing. Just, and I mean, crazy man I might not even understand, might not even necessarily be going fishing for fishing. He just likes throwing dynamite into the river. But because of the society that we live in and the sheer apathy of the fucking masses, just the level of I don't give a fuck about my own fucking offspring. Holy fuck, what were you even fucking alive for? Oh my gosh, the sheer disgusting garbage. Oh man, it's so disgusting. On a level I cannot communicate with the English vernacular. It is abhorrent what some of these people do. They just hand their child a fucking tablet and oh fuck, man. They don't even understand. They don't even understand what the fuck it is that they're handing their child. Oh man, we are fucked. Vault of near infinite knowledge. I'll expand on that idea here for a bit. When you really think, when you spend full time on YouTube, full time on the internet, going through, surfing the web, as it were. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but you could you end up wanting to become a surfer, although that could have something to do with the cruise that I took that uses 4 years ago or whatever. Lol. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. When you spend that amount of time on the internet, I don't understand how there are so arrogant people, such arrogant people remaining to the extent that like they believe they understand jack shit, like anything at all. It doesn't make any sense at all to me. I don't understand how you could spend any second on the internet and think you have any functional, rational reason to believe yourself to have any sufficient ability to encapsulate the world that we live in, or any aspects of it to any level. A professor looks to researchers, and researchers are constantly researching new things, proving themselves insufficient in our own human understanding of the world. And yet there's this arrogancy of just such a vast portion of society to somehow believe that we know everything and we just want to be proven right. It doesn't make sense. I thought the first thing you admitted when you wanted to become, like when you wanted to go into higher education, like yeah, lower education's absolutely bullshit. It's absolutely condemnation of society that's just an accepted statement. But going into higher education, the understanding, think about like what they teach you in karate. I heard it from my brothers when they were talking about this, because they were way more into karate than I ever got into. But they were talking about when you get black belt, they teach you about the monkey story, and the drunken monkey knocks over the ink and basically blacks out the paper, restarting everything, and you have to write in white. You basically have to kill everything that you've learned and relearn it all, because the first thing you have to understand when you go into higher education, the last few lessons of the high school education have to be this coaxing into the knowledge of Okay, here's what we've taught you. Here's 12 years of education. And then you have to open the door to the vast abyss of all of the knowledge that you could possibly know in life. And you have to take them and go, all right, here's what you could know. Here's what you know. And here's now perspective as to why all of what you've learned is basically nothing in comparison to what you will learn. And I don't know how you don't have a God. I honestly don't know how you look at this world. I don't know how you look into that abyss of all of the things that you as a man, that you as an individual have no knowledge of. That you just have faith that all of these thousands of other professions just function to keep your life sufficient is a marvel. It is a miracle. The fact that we are so arrogant as to deny God in the face of such fantastical nonsense that makes no rational sense when you really sit down and start to think about it. None of this shit makes sense. On top of just the nonsense that is thrown at anybody who tries to actually produce anything of value in this society. And it's like it's frustrating because there's a level of logic to it, but the logic is so fundamentally fractured that it's almost hard to explain why it's so fractured. It goes something like this. The logic is something like this, right? Fuck, what were we talking about? God damn it, I hate this. I mean, this is what weed does. I'm not stupid enough to not realize that, but I would prefer this over the fucking levels of rage that I go to when I fucking, yeah, when I have to be sober, when I have to be fucking any level of just manic or fucking depressed, fucking any, because guess what? There is no fucking this middle ground, this fucking huge thing that everybody else seems to have. There's a fucking light switches in my brain. It's either on or it's fucking off, and it just fucking drives me insane that everybody else just seems to magically get that little fucking in the middle part of it's like, oh, it's not really on, it's not really off, and we don't really think about all of the nightmares in society. We just sort of go about our life. It's like, wow, how the fuck do you do that? Fuck. Anyways, the logic. Oh, right. Okay, so the logic of why. Okay, logically from the young man's perspective, but the young man's perspective is so small because the young man hasn't lived very long, and so the young man hasn't lived through all of the cycles that life gives, and so he hasn't realized that life is a series of downward spirals leading to enough bars smacking people in the face enough times to the point where we finally get uncomfortable enough to start looking back towards God, or start looking back towards something good, or start looking back towards something, and then we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But so the young man's perspective is, well, why would you be productive? There's this vast portion of society that is literally berating you for being productive. In what rational perspective do you have any reason to be productive in the face of all of this? And in a sense, that makes sense because it's emotional. It comes from the heart. It's like, yeah, something tells me that should be right. But you have to berate that thing that tells you it should be right, because you have to berate everything because, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't have to berate anything. That's just the way I've lived. I don't know, but but can we talk about it? Like, fuck. Anyways, back to the thing. So that's that logic, right? And it's kind of inherently faulty because, but okay, so the reason that it's faulty is because when you look at things, well, the reason that those guys produce things is because if you don't produce things, then all of the things that people use to even make fun of the guys that produce things, well, all of those things wouldn't exist. So like, that's the funniest thing about an atheist, about any of these people that like deny God, is that it's so fucking hilarious how everything points to the Bible and nobody wants to talk about it because they're so scared of acknowledging the fact that good is what it is and it's perfect, and humans have such incapacity to live up to it. It's so hilarious. But anyways, the funniest thing, that it's like the grandest scale. If God didn't create all of existence, then there wouldn't be atheists in it to deny God his existence. It's fucking hilarious. That's what it is. That's why the producers work in spite in the face of all of the trash that the youth, that the college people, that the young rich people, because they don't understand how time works and how they'll get there eventually, because they're the people in Harvard and Yale and all of these other places. But Jordan Peterson went into that. But it doesn't matter. Jordan Peterson did not. Looking at Nietzsche, looking at all of these people, looking at Homer, looking to Jesus, looking to the Bible, really looking at the Bible, looking to Solomon, looking to Job, like. Dude, it's so freaking hilarious because the Bible's been around, and it's literally, just look at the Bible, because not one jot or one tittle shall pass from my word, says Jesus Christ, until time, if it's beyond, until heaven and earth have passed away. I think I don't remember if I'm quoting that correctly, but like literally, there's reason for it. Look at, like, just because, okay, just look at the book of Proverbs. Just look at the book of Proverbs, read through it, and I guarantee you, your mind will go, haha, that's right, haha, that's right, haha, that's right, haha, that's right, haha, that's right. Simply because you've lived your years and you've seen evidence of what is true. It is so hilarious, man. Oh, anyways. That's why the producers produce. Is because if the producers didn't produce, even the producers, like the those that produce so little, well, not those that produce so little. Where was I going with that? Those that produce much and those that produce little. Like, everybody hates Bezos, right? I don't know if this is Aaron Clary or if this was Jordan Peterson. I don't know who I was watching. Like I said, I watched lots. I've been trying to fucking figure this shit out, and the one thing I'm back fucking sure of is that I've got no fucking clue, but I just need to talk about it. And can we talk about it, please? No? Okay, well, back to the world. What? Well, what happens when we don't talk about things, everybody? Well, when we don't talk about things, that's when the anger and the rage comes out, and that's when things start getting punched, and that's when, all of these things are burning down around us. But when you start talking to people, and people have such different definitions that you can't make any meaningful progress, well, all of a sudden, you basically might as well not be talking to people, because you can't make any meaningful progress. That's the argument, right? It's the whole, if somebody said something but people can't agree on what they said, did they really say anything? Yes, because nobody ever agrees on anything that people say. The fundamental thing is that we can talk about it, such to the extent that our baseline level definitions of the world are coherent enough that we can come to some sort of compromise, that we both walk away believing that there's been some sort of progress being made, right? But when you have something like so distinct as police brutality, or something so distinct as Civil War, like I just said, two things, right? Police brutality and Civil War, and I transmitted audible words out of my voice, out of myself, to you. But that's literally only half, if it's even half, of the conversation, because your ears are half, if not more, of the conversation, because how you hear police brutality is filtered through your years of experience and knowledge, of understandings and lack thereof, of how you understand and perceive the same world, that somebody else just heard those same words and got a completely different filtered message. You filtered purple and he filtered yellow, literally, but you both filtered it from the same thing. The same creation, the same universe, just different perspectives, different seats at the table. But that's the reality. You have to be willing to get up from your seat at the table and go, and even if you won't sit down in the other seats, acknowledge that the other seats exist and why you believe your God is right in the face of those seats, or why maybe there's some faults in the seat. But that's the scary part. That's why people don't want to get up from their seat and go sit down in other seats, because they're scared if they get up there on their own seat, they'll start to understand, oh wow, I was really sitting in a weird spot, maybe I should have moved. Whereas if they get up out of their seat, they move, they might find a better seat but that seat might require them to do something, and they've been taught their entire lives that doing things is bad somehow. And oh man, that's a whole other concept. But I don't know, man. I just go insane. Oh, I've been probably manic for who knows how many fucking hours, days, weeks, months. Well, it's not years. It's cyclical, but it just, I try not to go manic, because lots of reasons, but trying not to go manic and just, cutting off that positivity and just fuck you if you feel positive. Well, guess what? Living a negative life, I don't know if you know this, having a voice inside of your head that constantly berates everything you do and everything you see around you for all of its negativity, because it has to acknowledge both the negative and the positive. But something in your head got fucked up one day where now you can't experience the positive because, well, you can't justify the positive, but you can't justify the negative either. But without the negative, then you're not even fucking existing. But without the positive, you're not really living. And then that's the catch-22, is how do you justify the positive and the negative? Because you have to justify both of them, both to both live and exist, and you have to do both, because without one, well, the other's kind of meaningless. But we won't get into that, because you can't live without existence. You can't, because without negativity, you'd have no reference for the positivity, and without the going down into the fucking dark depths, you'd never understand how to understand what fucking rationality is. But the problem with bipolar is, like, you go so fucking far down beyond what you can fucking rationally explain to another person that it's like, and then you go so high up into the fucking heights of like weed isn't it, when you're like, weed isn't even a drug. Well, it is. I'm not going to deny that, but like, in terms of like bipolar, so like when you go up to mania, the euphoria that you feel. I've never done anything because, well, my father had substance abuse issues, and I try to like keep that in mind when I make my decisions. So like weed, alcohol, tobacco I've gotten off of recently, but anyways, the point is, like, when you go so fucking far up and far down, and you stay in the middle very, 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 very little of the time. At least I do. I don't know, because apparently other people are different. I don't know. I stopped trying to understand myself, let alone other people. Fucking 7 years ago. I don't know. Longest fucking time ago. But like, fuck, what was I talking about? I'm sure it'll come back around. It always does. Or sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, well, fuck. And it doesn't. I don't know. You go, okay, yeah, but, so, I mean, I guess the first time, well, not even that, really, is like, because, like, you can remember the first time you had a drug, and, like, you're kidding yourself if that wasn't a unique experience. But whether or not it was good, I think, is objectively subjective by its nature, because I think everything is subjective. Well, I don't know. It's complicated, but the point is, I don't know if actually there was a point. Right. Alcohol? I don't know if it's not even like a crossfade, which is alcohol and marijuana. It's not like, yeah, that's the problem. It's not like, no, imagine that, fucking dumbass. Mental illness. Yeah, no, it's gotta be like a drug, right? Fucking, just kill me. And that's the thing, right? Like, you say to yourself, like, it can't be me. Or, like, it's gotta be me, right? It can't be society, because if it's society, then holy crap, you've got a lot of work ahead of you. But the thing is, like, what if it's both you and society? Oh, I don't know about that. I can't. I don't know about that. I don't know about anything. Fuck. Oh, man. Society's burning. Some of us can see the flames. And what I was trying to get at was that's the problem with bipolar, is that your perspective of the world goes to such heights and such depths that humans aren't really ever supposed to go to. But then you have the Bible and like Job 38 through 41, and the constant mind in the back of your head going, well, you're not God, you don't know better than God. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's not really helpful. It's like, and that's the thing, is like, you've got to expand you've got to expand whatever you were taught as a child, because whatever you were taught was insufficient, because you were taught by insufficient people, and all of our understanding as mankind is insufficient. So you have to acknowledge the insufficiencies, because if you can't acknowledge the insufficiencies, then what the fuck are you even here for? Then you're just one of these fucking nightmare, egotistical, malevolent, evil people who abuse others because they're trying to gain affection or attention or power or something for themselves, and they're just trying to rule over what is, rather than trying to create new things, because they don't love anything. They They just, I don't, and that's the thing. It doesn't make sense. But I mean, good in and of itself doesn't really make sense. The feelings that it arises in front of us don't make sense. Evil doesn't really make sense in like rational, logical microevolution. If you think about that kind of stuff, because like that's the funny thing is that there's it it doesn't matter. I won't go into that. I don't know if any of it matters though. God made us without the knowledge of good and evil. And then we ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it said, I believe in the Bible, but again, this could be mistaken, because the quote in and of itself is mistaken. People think that money is the root of all evil. Money is not actually the root of all evil, according to the Bible. But again, that's the mistake. That's the misquote, right? It's actually the love of the money that's the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. But that in and of itself, I need to look up the quote, because I might be misquoting, and I don't want to do that, because I might be leading to the whole, process of changing of the things that it's nightmares, because if things change, then there's no more sense, and then when there's no more sense, then there's just irrationality, and then violence leads to nothing but destruction, and then destruction, and then, but that's human story. That's the fucking history of humanity. I don't know. I don't know. That's the one thing that I'm fucking sure of, is that I don't know. Why won't anybody else admit that fucking fact? Like, how the fuck do you think that you know anything? How have you lived all of the fucking decades that you've lived, and now have come to fucking understanding that you think you understand jack shit? How did all of that not convince you that you understand none of it? I don't know, man. I don't know. Hey, Miss Ice Queen. Hey. I welcome. Hugs. Of course. Hugs in return, Miss Ice Queen. I'm just realizing that, if that's new or if it's not, I'm not sure. But this is just me going insane, because I don't understand things about society and life and all of that kind of stuff. And like, I'm trying to be like, can we talk about these things? Because like, we're not supposed to talk about them, but like, I think that's part of the reason that we're supposed to talk about them, is that we're not supposed to talk about them. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if anything makes sense, but oh, 32 minutes, lol. It is currently 9:32 p.m. I understand very little other than fam is fam. Well, that's facts. Hey, that's good. That's a good core thing to know. That's something that you can build off of. Is like, fam is fam, because that's wisdom. But you gotta expand from there. Whether you're born into it or adopted. Right. So like, let's expand there. Like, let's expand that idea. So I think that's true, and I think if you ask most people will think that's true. Why? Why is it that even if you're adopted into a family, like if it's genuine, people can tell, right? Like, people can tell if you've genuinely been adopted into a family, you're not an adopted person. You're just part of the family. I don't have an adopted little sister. I just have a little sister who happens to be adopted. It's like my older brothers. There's no difference between my older brother and my little sister, because I wasn't there when my older brother or my younger brother came out of my mom, just like I wasn't there when my mom and my dad came back with my little sister. It's like, but there's, so like, when you go there, like, why is it that fam is fam? I think it's love. But it's a particular kind of love, and that's kind of a complicated concept, because it's a love that isn't actually love, but we don't really have a better vernacular in the English language to encapsulate the concept. But it's like more than platonic, along the lines of romantic, not sexual. But it's familial, but it's it's a complicated topic because it's not any one thing. It's weird. But that's why they call it love. It's like it's this concept that and nobody has any clue on how to explain, but everybody completely and wholly understands it. It's this crazy thing that we just accept as people, and it's like Chrissy is my sis, and we have never met. Same with Cody 20. There you go. There you go. And that's because I think, just because from what I know about you, I think that's because you care about them. There you go. So, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Then you look deeper, is like, why are certain people so willing to give that, and other people are so unwilling? And it's got to be like a story of the individuality of man versus all of the things that happen to a man throughout his life. But in reality, is the individuality of a man not instilled into him by all of the things that happened to those who were his tutors and his teachers and his parents and his peers throughout their lives? And that's the crazy thing, is that when you really try to understand the individual nature versus the nurture, is that can you really distinguish between the two? That's the fascination, I think. But I mean, I don't know, man. That's the one thing that I'm sure of, is that I don't fucking know anything. I know that I don't know, but I think it's willing to have, it's worthy to have a chat about. I don't know. I need to figure out how to like make sense of any of these topics, because right now it's just a bunch of incoherent, specifically herle. I believe that's spelled HHLAGH. Herble. Might be a P in there. I don't know. How's my audios? Obviously you can adjust it on your end, which is awesome. I have it muted on my end. Lol. Maybe I should unmute it. Unmute? Oh, no, I don't. Oh, you're probably going to get an echo in a second. Sorry, that's my bad. I think that OBS is currently capturing all of the audio. So if I unmute it, I think I just play it back to you. Herbla. Yes. See? You know what I'm saying? This is the awesomeness about people, is that other people are just as infinite as you, and so other people have the ability to encapsulate the things that you understand but could never encapsulate. It's this crazy thing, and that's why we're social creatures. It's because if I just talk to myself over and over and over again, I get frustrated because I can't figure out the things that for whatever reason, my brain won't let me figure out. But then all of a sudden I talk to one person, or I talk to two people, or I talk to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and then pieces start falling together, even if there's still frustration, if that makes sense. It's almost like the suffering and the positivity somehow are seen through a new perspective. And that's the craziness about life, is that life doesn't really change, but it does. But in reality, it doesn't. What changes is us, our perspective of the situation, kind of. But the situation in and of itself does change. But it's like the body system. It's like it changes, but it doesn't change. The cells reproduce, but overall the system either degrades or it improves. Sounds good? All good. It does. Sweet. Thank you. It does. So that's hands over, snack plate. Thank you, Miss Ice Cream. Thank you, Miss Ice Cream. I'm going to take your snack plate and drink idea, and I'm gonna take it, and as the catalyst of creation, I'm gonna pull from the abyss some Cheez-Its and some pretzels and a drink. Ooh. Okay. So the outside of the drink is going to be the Slurpee cup from Jimmy Neutron. If you remember, or maybe it's not Jimmy. No, I think it's Jimmy. I don't know. It's one of those weird cartoon, like the weird clay one that's not clay, but it's cartoon. I think it's Jimmy Neutron. The inside, however, what's a good drink? Well, it's Arizona and it's hot, so it's got to be cold. Well, it doesn't have to be cold, but I'm thinking cold. I'm thinking a shaved ice drink from a place that is currently, to my knowledge, closed down, Bahama Bucks. Because we can do that when we bring things from the abyss. We can bring things out that just don't exist. We can just, it's called the imagination. It's things that people just lose when they're, oh crap. How do I restart this? Huh. I don't know if I'm back. I hope I'm back. It said it would stop if I didn't restart it. I don't know how to restart it, but I just clicked into it, and then I clicked back to the browser, and it says I'm back, I think. So, okay, so yeah, that's the cool thing about when, when you're bringing things out of the abyss, when you're using the imagination that most people lose at about 7 years old. You can just bring things out of places that are places that don't exist, places that are in the ether, places that once were but are not, places from memory land. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers may receive latency, I think. Okay, well, that's my internet. I only pay for 73% of it. Mr. Ice Wolf, welcome in. This is the insanity of Lego Enforcers YouTube. This is where we talk about all of the things that we're not supposed to talk about. Because if we don't, I just keep going insane. Well, I mean, I do that anyways, but I don't know. I just figured I got nothing else to do. Might start talking about it. We had massive house and kitchen. Nice! A massive. I'm envisioning it in my brain. And that's the weird thing about envisioning things in your brain when you have them in the words is you say that, right? You have a massive house and kitchen in the internet. And then I envision in my head a completely different massive house and kitchen than what you say when you say those words. And that's the crazy thing about communication is that it's this two-way street that I don't understand fundamentally how it is that people who have okay, think about it, right? And this is really abstract, but think about it like this, right? People who have never before had any interaction with one another from thousands of miles apart can come together and not only rationally, coherently converse with one another, but also work together within such efficiency that they progress society much further than it could have ever been progressed had they not come together. That is what language does for us. Like when you really start to think about the reality that we live in, how do we just accept these things? Like, what does our subconscious do to just take over control and just go, yeah, no, that's fine. Just accept all of this. Take it for carte blanche. Take it all for granted. It's like, hold on for a second. Can we study this insanity here? Hold on. We also have, oh yes, full kitchen. Let me see this. Full kitchen, so if there's anything you would like to snack on or drink, let me know. We also have a bonfire that we tend to keep going for s'mores. Awesome, of course. That's a great thing to have as an accessory to a kitchen. I envision this along the lines of the rehydrator from Back to the Future. It's a thing that you open, and once you open it, it's like the TARDIS. You open it, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 50 yards of cubic square feet just materialize in your kitchen, and you have a bonfire, and then you can start making s'mores. This is how I envision this. You want, and we install hammocks on the patio. Yep. I like this idea. I'll bring the pine wood so we can smoke, and I think pine wood keeps the flies away. That's been my experience the last few nights, but that's not based off no scientific evidence. But I do know that apparently something called I don't know. I actually don't know what it's called. But my brother had something that he lit that would keep all the flies away. That's he could buy from a store, real cheap. I like this. I like this patio. I'm actually on kind of a patio. I'm under a covered car lot that we fenced in because it's Arizona, and if it's not covered, it's 110 degrees. But if it is covered, then it's it's a cool 95. It's cool 95. That's the funny thing though. Arizona is this weird place because when it goes nighttime, we think that we have this weird like influx of heat and cool, and we do to an extent. 120 in the day to 60 at night is an influx. But then you go to like Colorado or Chicago, from where my mom's at, and they go to like 70 in the morning to like -20 at night. And it's like, yeah, maybe keep the pipes, maybe keep the sink on a little bit more than a trickle. Pine and the wild mesquite out there also works for mosquitoes and flies. And they smell good too. Mesquite barbecue has never gone over poorly in my entire 23 years of existence. I don't think I've ever seen somebody eat anything that says mesquite barbecue on it, and ever seen anything less than, that's pretty good. Or, that's pretty much the baseline. I remember we don't. If I said something to that. I need to get better about remembering things that I said to people when they're chatting to me so I can actually talk to them. Well, there's another thing, right? Memory. We just trust our perspective. We just completely trust it. We just go like, yeah, no, that thing that can be completely altered by any of the drugs, that thing that can be completely altered by that thing called dementia and Alzheimer's, that thing that can be completely altered by a traumatic experience, don't worry about it. That'll be fine. I'm sure it's reliable most of the time. It's so funny. This world's a funny place. Scary, funny, dark, humorous. Why? It's lots of things. I don't know. It is so yummy. That's good. That's good. Yummy. Here's a word. I like to think all of the words that we use to describe good food came from what people sounded like when they were eating food. I don't know exactly how, but all of them kind of sound like that. Like yummy, or good. Like they all make that like there's something in the throat that wants to vibrate, I feel like it wants to like vibrate the tongue that it knows is down there. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Because your tongue actually apparently goes down into your throat way further than I originally thought. No, that's a bad mind. You stay down there in that pit. Back. Sorry, I had to kick that guy back down there before he made that dark joke. Hey, don't worry, I have a pit I keep those guys in. I remember the influxes and say words that much. We pretended that they were, but they weren't. I agree. That much we pretended that they were, but they weren't. See, but that's the thing, is that if I'm reading this correct, the influxes. So, what is a word? Let's take a look at that, right? How do you define a word? This is another one of those insanities we just accept every day and we live with it. You define a word. You define a word with other words. Well, how do you define those words? Oh, those words? Oh, it's simple. Well, you define those words with other words. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, how do you define those words? Oh, that's simple. And it's like all of a sudden 3 pages in, it's like, hang on. Where did words come from? Is there a progress between Ooga Booga and words? Or is it God? And then it's like, oh crap, well, I guess I Guess I better do more research. Better talking to people. Better start. And then you start talking to people, and they're like, I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about that. And it's like, oh, okay, well. It's like I'm either talking about something really important or really not important, or I don't know. Do humans want to think about things that are important? I don't know. I think there's an argument for both. No, mesquite wood in the winter. Oh, mesquite wood's the best, especially for like a smoker. But winter wood's also great because of the smell. But it is a particular type of smell. If you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you still like the taste for whatever reason. I don't know, but you don't like the smell, which is funny because I thought smell was a huge part of taste, and it is. But again, sometimes they tell you to plug your nose, and you like something, the taste of something, or you can swallow it better or something. I don't know. Facts. That's the thing is like there's just so many things that like when you really just take a second to look at them and it's like, all right, hang on, math, right? Let's think about math for a second. Let's think about this, right? Okay. We just expect every day that we wake up that 2 plus 2 will continue to equal 4. Okay, maybe that's not math, maybe that's the law of consistency. But like, okay, maybe, okay, why do we understand this? Well, we understand it because every single time that you add 2 and 2, you get 4. Every single time in the history of humans that there has been 2 and 2 and they have been added, there has been brought 4. Which is what makes me, as a Christian, wonder whether or not people have read the Bible. Because whether or not you agree on what it says, whether or not, if you take it, because they believe it to be true, 100% truth, and that makes sense if you look at it from an analytical perspective, but there's reasons as to why that's not necessarily all of the picture. It is truth, but part of that truth is this vast reality that mankind very, very little has the ability to live up to said truth. Very often, most of the time, mankind doesn't, like most of us don't have the ability to be perfect. That's why Jesus. But anyways, well, what makes me think is like most people haven't read it is like, I just wonder. You read those parts about Jesus taking the fish and the bread, and you think about them from a logical perspective. Like you're told the story as a kid in Sunday school, or maybe like your mom tells you as a kid, because like I don't know how, but somehow everybody I talk to this, everybody knows the stories at least. The 2 fish, the loaves. Everybody knows about the cross. Everybody knows about Moses and the sea and Noah. Like those are pretty much the stories at least that I can tell that the secular world understands. But this guy, this Jesus dude, if we're taking this for honesty, for truth, this dude took 2 fishes and then 5 loaves of bread, and there was 4,000 people, and he prayed and blessed the food and took the fish and divided the fish, and then took the bread and divided the bread, and this motherfucker took 1 and made 3. This guy, this dude, and I'm not supposed to say motherfucker because I'm supposed to, but I don't know. I'm supposed to be lots of things, but there was supposed to be lots of things that we aren't necessarily, but that's a whole other can of worms. Let's focus on this for now. Let's focus on the fact that there's a dude, supposedly, that we believe, again, let's take this for like, let's look at this from an imaginative perspective. We believe that this dude, 2,000 years ago, broke the laws of math such to the extent that he took fish and loaves and added, like he took 1 and 2 and added together and manifested 5. He broke the very laws of consistency which our lives claim to be based off of. But he was just a wise man, and he wasn't God, and there's no divinity? It's like, okay, if you believe it, then you have to believe it. But like, if you believe it, then how can you believe it if you don't live up to it? And that's the key, right? That's the weird part, is like, you have to believe it because it's true. Well, if it's true, then we should live up to it. there's that key word, right? Is should. There's a lot of things that should be. There, I mean, children shouldn't be abused. By the way, my. Okay, before I die, before I continue to stutter on this topic, my computer is almost dead, but there has been no ding, so it will probably die on me very shortly with no notice. I will let that end the video because that's the best way that I have to end the video because I'm not good at ending things otherwise. Just so you know, I didn't absolutely leave you. Miss Ice Queen and the other viewer that I have in here, probably Ice Wolf. If not, it's Ice Wolf. It's somebody a cool dude. Thanks. I don't know. Anyways, appreciate y'all being here. This is just straight up insanity, but I appreciate y'all anyways because y'all are cool and y'all always. I mean, it's always more fun even if you have like insanity with another person. I don't know what it is. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say. Is if it falls, that's why I didn't just abandon it. It is one side. I think he won. I think he taught everyone to right. Yes, that was the part. Is if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, then you feed him for a lifetime. Which has always made me want to be a teacher because that makes sense to me. Is like, yeah, absolutely. Do it for me so that I can watch, but then like teach me so that then I can do it so that when you inevitably aren't in my life anymore, because that's how, these things work. Relationships start and then they end. I can, I can remember you through your teachings. Or like I can, anyways. Or not anyways, but I don't know. Some way. So like if it is truth, then you want to live up to it, and you should live up to it. But we're humans, and most of the Bible is a discussion of, well, most people, though they have been righteous at points in their lives and holy at points in their lives, are not most of the time holy. There was one dude at one point who managed to be holy for his whole life, and he died, and that we might be saved. That was Jesus. That's the story of the salvation. If you believe on Jesus Christ and his divinity and his ability to save you from your sins and his death and his resurrection, then you will be saved from your sins, and in death, when God judges you, you will not be seen. Instead, it will be Jesus that is seen, and basically it's the whole there must be shed of blood for the repentance of sin sort of thing. And so that's the whole idea of then, because of that massive gift of love, and then there's that whole other idea of love isn't the right word because English is vernacular that doesn't encapsulate things coherently enough. It's like Spannensbogen. That's such a great word. It encapsulates the idea of the span in between the time that one wants for something and the time between they reach out, and the time to the time at which they reach out for said thing. It's such a great concept because it encapsulates so many different words in just Spannensbogen. It's just, I don't know, it's so nice. English, German has quite fascinating. Anyways, truth is like, and that's the argument, right? Is truth, there's two factors, I think. There's the factor of like, truth is something that man can live up to, and there's the factor of truth is perfection that inherently man cannot live up to, why we need to call to God. And so that's the weird part. But like I don't know, man, but like that's the thing is like when you start to actually try to acknowledge God in the whole way, like you get into all of these different issues of even the people who try to follow God don't follow God the same way. There's strife even between people who read the same book. Like, and so there's got to be a balance, right? Like there's got to be peace to some extent, and that's this weird, and that's this other part of insanity that I think is like we've just developed this society of just such vastness of like, just don't think about it. How does all of this work? Well, for the most part, it just kind of does, and we don't think about it because, like, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, it really is weird how it works, huh? Because, I mean, it works based off love and respect and what those words actually mean, but in order to understand what those words actually mean, you have to understand, first, in order to understand anything, you have to have an understanding of how to even define anything, and then that's a whole issue of doctrine and belief, and how do we understand any words if we don't just automatically believe some words mean what they mean? And then I don't know. There's weirdness. Oh man, it's so weird. It's so weird. I'm telling you, man. Shh. Right. Knowledge is a two-way street. Aids and fits. Yeah, Proverbs talks a lot about that. It like a man of wisdom. It talks. It's something like that. Like a man of wisdom seeks. No, a man of wisdom attain. A man of understanding attain unto wise counsel. A man of wisdom seeks knowledge, and a man of knowledge attain unto wise counsel, or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of repetition in the Bible about like cyclical natures, because that's the thing. Two-way streets are a lot more common, I think, than a lot of us realize. Like respect, love, even education, I think, is a two-way street. Catholic and Christian, same Bible, same Pope. That's the weird part, right? Is like Catholic and Christian. What do those words mean? Well, I don't actually know what Catholic means. But I've been told Christian means, quote, Christ-like, which in and of itself makes weirdness, because how can you be like Christ if Christ was God? Can you really be like Christ at all? But you're not. But that, I mean, I think it's symbolic, like a striving for an ideal that can never be. Catholic, including a wide variety of all things, all embracing. So that's the weird part, right? Catholics are Christian, but not all Christians claim to be Catholic, I guess. So Christians, and that's the weird part. Like that's where you have all these different sects, where you have the Catholic Church and then the Protestant Church and the whole Martin Luther King with his 95 theses of I think there's corruption here and here's my why, and then there's I don't think there's corruption here and here's my why, and then you have all of these different and then that's mankind though, right? If that's not the story of mankind, what is? I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Can we get along? That depends on a lot of different things. I don't know really. But if we can get along, then we can create all this cool stuff. But if we can't get along, then there's all of this pain and anguish and death and nightmares and so it's like, isn't it just better to get along because it is? But like if it is, then why is it? But if it isn't, then what is good and what is evil? And it's like, well, if there's no standard, then if there is no standard, then how do we define anything as positive or negative? How do we go through traumatic experiences as humans if there's no good and bad? So I think as humans we have to acknowledge the fact that there is good and bad, and then you have to try and argue of, okay, well, what is good and what is evil then? And then it's like, well, if there is no standard, then we make up our own standards, and us as men are ever changing, and then the standards perpetually change. Okay, so if it's not us, then it's something else, then it's God, and then that's where you get the whole, I think God says this, well, I think God says this, well, God's on my side, said every person to have pillaged and raided ever. Like, bruh. Read the Bible. God's not violent. Well, okay, God's violent against sin because he is a God of perfection and judgment. And this is a weirdness, but because God is perfect, there's this. It's so weird, man. It's so weird. But that's the thing is like, there used to be a time in society where people were willing to be like, yo. Maybe there's something that we should all be trying to endeavor towards betterness, even if we all don't agree on what it is or we all don't know what it is. But like, we should all be trying to talk about it. We should all be working towards something. We should be working towards, okay, battery's running low. Okay, that was the message. So, and for some reason, as society's progressed, we've lost this willingness, this openness to discuss that, like, because, I mean, the discussions that we've been having haven't really been all that, they haven't really progressed anything all that much. That's kind of the problem. So we need to get back to the point where we can get the discussions to start progressing things again. And then we have to figure out how we get back to there. And then that's where we found the whole, standard thing. And then if there is a standard, but we can't live up to it, well, then that's the whole mercy and truth thing. Let not mercy and truth decline from thine heart. my child or something. And I really need to get back into Proverbs. I need to read it more. Let me see this first though. Let me see. I frustrated someone today over the phone. I got asked what my race was. Exactly. Really? Your race? I would have been like, my race? Well, my favorite race is the NASCAR 500, but it's really tied with the Alabama 350, because the Alabama 350 actually has a slightly bigger track. I actually don't know anything about races, but like I can bullshit to the point where like I play the dense harem anime protagonist. It's the most fun thing to do. That's just my strat. Exactly. Then it is up to God to judge, not me. Right, and that's the thing is like if you're honestly reading God's word and trying to like understand what God's saying and like trying to live your life according to how you think God's saying to the best of your ability, then it comes down to, are you reading the right word? How do you find out if you are reading the right word? And like that stuff like that, man. Oh, sheesh. This world's crazy. There's so much weirdness. So much weirdness. I successfully spent a 1/24th at least of my day broadcasting to YouTube instead of consuming from YouTube. So I guess there's that. I don't know. Well, I even got a like. Thank you, Miss Ice Queen, probably. Whoever gave me the like. Yes, I am human. Yeah, I am human. Same, bro. Same. It's like, what have you learned for the last however many years you've spent learning things? What have I learned? I have learned that there is a lot to learn. That is what I have learned. Yep. Oh man, there's so much to learn. You don't know. You don't even know. You don't even know how much there is to learn, do you? Oh man. Oh man. Oh brother. Brother. Sister. Brother. Mother, brother, father, brother, sister, brother, son, daughter. Familia, love, respect, education, these concepts, these words, these definitions that have been lost over time, we need to recover them. Even if we can't live up to them fully, we have to acknowledge their existences as reality. Woohoo! Right? Woohoo! Oh man. Well, but I mean, I guess that's what we're here for, if nothing else, is to attempt to try and figure out what we're here for. I guess there's nothing better to do, right? I will be 42. Just don't tell Chrissy. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing. I don't think YouTube will keep any of this either. I don't know though, but I won't say nothing, and I didn't see nothing. Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. Well, I see nothing wrong with my society, Mr. Governor. No. No, not the education system. Not the college student loan crisis. No, not that epidemic. Alright. Miss Ice Queen, I'm gonna put a stop to this here. The battery actually did not die. So there's that. But I am gonna kill it, because the battery's about to die, so I'm gonna use that as an excuse. Battery died, lol. I won't use it as an excuse, but I'll just be honest. Yes, we need to try to bring them back. Yes, ma'am. We need to have discussions we need to have discussions around what the words mean, and all of the different facets, and all of the different, because there's so many different facets of, I mean, yes, words, but like, oh man, like just love in and of itself. When I say love, that means something different if in your mind you're thinking about your father, or about your grandfather, or about your mother, or about your husband, or your wife, or your child, or it means something completely different to the person who they're based on who they're thinking about, based on their life experiences, based on. And so if there is a baseline reality, even if we can't live up to it, we have to find it and we have to acknowledge it. That way we can build off of it, I think. I think that's how this works. I think that's how this works. Naruto is back and forth. Oh, heck yeah. Fortnite. Heck yeah. I mean, I really hope. I think there is, and I'm glad I can say that there's now a video game. Because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. I'm glad I can say that there's now a video game that you can emote and actively move in the Naruto run. Like like you're actively acting out the anime. It's so bizarre because the 3D 2D thing. Oh man, that just hurts my brain thinking about it. But like that's the society that I want to create. I want to create the society where we constantly make it our endeavor to take the 7-year-old's imagination and work to make to bring from the abyss like the ability to encapsulate that. Like I want to I want full VR. I want to throw a lightning at motherfuckers. Let's swing from the freaking buildings as Spider-Man and fly like Superman and freaking beat people up like Batman. We could there's so the tech is like right there, man. We're right there. And if we could just get past all of this nonsense of arguing and silliness, we could like we are right there, bro. It's so exciting, bro. All right. Hugs and stay safe. Hands over, flies blanket, and wild water to everyone. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, Miss Ice Queen. And we got Mama Chrissy to play. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Hey, go have fun with Miss Chrissy and Miss Ice Queen. I appreciate you being here. Tell Miss Ice Queen, Miss Chrissy, I said hello and love y'all, of course. That'll never change, but you know, we gotta figure out the definition, of course, but you know, I'll end it there before we continue. Because of course, like with Mr. Jacob, with Mr. Monderfire himself, with everybody, if I don't I need to get better at ending conversations, because if I don't figure out like how to end, I just continue, because if there's no end, then there's continue. But you know, all right, end stream. Bye bye.